This Three Beards Media podcast is sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. When Rob and Chrissy Taylor started following the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in 2012, they fell in love with not only bourbon, but the entire distilling process. Just 8 short years later, in 2020, Revelton Distilling Company was opened, offering an entire family of products including vodka, gin, whiskey, and Revelton Shine. Come visit the tasting room at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, where you can sample one of their many spirits, including 4 gold medal winners. Can't make it to Osceola today? Not a problem, as you can pick some up at your local Hy-Vee or Fairway grocery stores. Follow Revelton Distilling on Twitter or Instagram at ReveltonDC or their website www.reveltondistilling.com.
This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Hello and welcome once again to an episode of Old Man Strength. I am the host tonight, Chris Shipley. Tim Johnson is disposed, not available tonight. So we thought, like a little bit of WWE, we'd call in a tag team partner here. Let me play his music.
Are you ready? They think you can tell us what to do. You think you can choose us what to wear. You think that you're better. Better get ready. Out to the masters. Break it down.
Had to bring in the biggest degenerate I know, George Trice, host of Sigh of the Storm, another Three Beards Media podcast. George joining us from Phoenix. What is up, George?
What's good, people? I'm out here chilling. Daddy daycare tonight, so I got a little time. Hopefully, the kids are on their tablets and they're occupied. Tablets raise kids these days.
That's right. That's no different than any other dad raising their kids. Here,
Well,
let's turn on some cartoons. I got stuff to do.
And that's the new thing, because before, it's like you just tell the kids go play and you just listen for a loud sound.
Right.
So
Yeah.
now it's like,
Yeah.
hey, put the tablet down. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's quiet.
Absolutely. Well, we are super excited tonight. I've been meaning to bring this gentleman on the pod for a while. I mean, the only way to introduce this guest is to say that it's straight up blue collar. And if you hear that, you know who I'm talking about. East Side legend, I was told tonight by our buddy Chris Flagg. He wanted to know when the East Side legend was going to make his appearance on Old Man Strength. Coach John Walling, welcome to Old Man Strength. Thanks for hopping on with us.
God bless. It's an honor to be here.
Well, that seems like a lot of pressure.
Hey, John, I hope you live up to it.
Right, yeah, we've had some big guests.
Oh, amen, brother.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Both of y'all have.
I don't know about that. John, what are you up to nowadays? Other than I mean, some of your pics on Twitter of you hanging out in your hammock and retiring while your wife's working hard.
Hey,
What's
that's my best skill set is hammocking. I'm a hammocking type of guy. If there's an opportunity to teach people how to hammock, I should be that guy.
Well, let me tell you the legend of John Walling. All right.
Oh.
So two stories. I'm in the car listening to, or I read a tweet somewhere, and there was like a 10 or 15 minute podcast. And I can't even remember what the podcast was, but it was about bringing on people that had been touched by other people. And they were interviewing this young kid and he was talking about how this guy had pulled him aside one day in class and had just turned the talk that he had just kind of turned him around. And he was explaining this gentleman in this story. And then the host was like, well, how would you like to meet this guy again? And he was like, oh, that would be great. I don't know that would ever, happen. And I'm sitting there thinking, I think this kid's talking about John Walling.
Yeah.
And it's not located just in Iowa. So that's where I was like, God, man, are they talking about John? And then all of a sudden, John Walling's voice came on the podcast. It was you.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I couldn't believe it. Story number one. Story number two, my wife is at school the other day, and she's talking about people that we know and whatever. And I think this girl's Stacey's gonna kill me. She literally just told me the story like 20 minutes ago, and I already don't remember all of it. Which ranks right up there with the t-shirt she got me for Christmas that says, my husband has two faults. He doesn't listen and something else. Anyways, they were at a basketball game.
Are you going to make those on the circuit maker? Or are we going to?
Yeah, I can make those. Yeah, I can get you one if you need one, George.
Put my order in that. Yeah.
Or I actually have one that says trophy husband too, George. You want that one instead?
No, I'm married up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't need that one. The people look at me funny.
I really wanted the one that said 70 put or 30% stud, 70% muffin. That's what I really wanted, was that one.
I haven't seen that one, but I need that one too. And I got to get back in the gym. So I'm with you.
Anyways, so they apparently are sitting there, and they met John Walling, and John was all super excited that somebody actually knew who he was instead of being Rory's dad. And Stacey was like, oh, I know John Walling. So you're pretty much known everywhere, Coach.
Well, I don't know about all that, but after my family grew up, I grew up and my family grew up on the east side. So East Des Moines is a special place to us.
So you coached and taught on the east side. Give us a little bit of background. I've covered a tiny bit of it, but why don't you tell our listeners more about where you're from and what you've done? Well,
I grew up here in East Des Moines and went to East High School. Dad kind of, he went to a lot of places. They were in a rough spot, and Mom same way. But Dad went to World War II in Korea. And so that's how I grew up with, two tremendous role models. And then I went to Goodwill Garden East and then Iowa State. And then I married my wife, Beth, and we had Hannah, Rory, and Mary Kate. They all went to, I got to teach them at Goodwill, and then they went to East. And then Hannah went to South Dakota State, and she's now married and working as a teacher, as a science teacher up in just south of Minneapolis and Eagan. Rory is, he just finished last year as a student coach up at Iowa State, finished his career and was a student coach. And he's going to meet with Coach Campbell at some point and discuss the future. I don't know what that looks like. That's between Coach Campbell and him, but Lord knows he loves Coach Campbell and he loves Iowa State. So I don't know what's happening there. And then Miss Mary Kate, our youngest, she is going to graduate with her undergrad, and Rory actually graduated with undergrad and his master's. And then Miss Mary Kate is going to graduate her undergrad this coming spring, and then she's already taking her master's, and she's a videographer at Iowa State football. She's done that for 2 years. We'll do it a third, maybe a fourth, depending. And then for me, I taught and coached for 35 years in Des Moines. Really, my teaching career started at I was at East, and I was at Merrill for a short while, and then I spent 25, 6, 7 years at Goodwill Middle School. Well, I coached primarily at East, but I kind of had my bags packed. I kind of went everywhere, but I always came back to East Des Moines.
That's what's up.
I lived in Iowa for 10 years, and my son actually, his mom, they lived on the east side. They lived like a block from the fairgrounds.
Oh
So-
yeah, oh yeah.
And I can't remember if she went to what color is the school is green. I don't know if is East green.
Hoover.
No, we're red.
You're red, so I think she went to the green school, and I don't know what.
Hoover.
That'd be north,
Oh,
North or Hoover.
north or Hoover.
Hoover sounds familiar. Okay, nice.
And actually, we're about 10, 12 blocks north of the fairgrounds.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, first Friday night of the fair is always East Side night.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that.
Good people watching over there.
I avoid
Oh,
I
yes.
avoid that night at the fair, by the way. My parents were born on the east side, but I haven't earned the street cred to go
I
to
thought
east side night.
East Side night was kind of like St. Patrick's Day. Everybody on St. Patrick's Day Irish. Everybody on the first Friday of the fair, they're East Des Moines, aren't they? Isn't that kind of like St. Patrick's Day?
Kind of.
It is. I mean, I have a shirt that says Black Irish, Blackerish.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
On St. Patty's Day, it don't matter what your color is. It's always green.
That's right. That's right. Everybody can be Irish for a day.
You got to know that. You got to know the code though when you go over there to east side night at the.
Amen. Amen, brother.
They'll know the fakes over there. They'll know the fakes. The fakes are the one that are leaving it at like 9:30. Those are the fake east side.
Oh yeah. That's just when the party's getting started.
Right. Exactly. So I was born, and the first couple places we lived at was on the east side, right on East 34th, kind of right around the corner from Stowe Elementary. So I'm sure
Yep.
that's probably right around in your area or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's a good, hardworking neighborhood, but it was also kind of a tough neighborhood. So
Oh yes.
tell me what it was like trying to mentor and coach some of those kids and what that meant to you.
Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful and blessed for where I got to grow up and where I got to coach and teach. East Des Moines means everything to me. And one of the things that I personally believed in is that, as a teacher, I got to try to lift everybody every day, right? And I was lucky enough to know most of their moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, what have you. And a lot of them are blue collar workers. And it seems like today, a lot of people are trying to act like that's not a noble profession. And, but where I grew up, that's whatever, my dad worked 42 years as a tire builder at Armstrong Tire. I mean, I completely, I grew up understanding that, right? And
Mhm.
that world is the world I grew up in, just the blue collar world. Yes, I got to go to Iowa State, but it was not, that was a gift. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
and so, I'm very, very grateful for that. But that was my dream. I wanted to coach. Coach Bryant at Alabama has been my one of my heroes from 1970 on. I got in my dad's hair and I pissed him off and he grabbed me by the arm and my feet weren't on the floor, on the ground, and sat me down. And there was always one game on Saturdays. Nobody believes that anymore, but there was only one game on a Saturday. And Alabama was good enough that they were on quite a bit. So I loved Coach Bryant. I started loving Alabama because my dad said that man right there can beat you with his players. And he said, if he stood on the other sideline, he'd beat your ass with your own players. So, I mean, and my dad wasn't necessarily, he was too poor and didn't have time. He had to work to survive. So he didn't really have time to play anything, right? I mean, he didn't even graduate high school. He got his GED because he went to war. He
Yep.
lied to get, he lied to be a Marine. I mean, so I have a tremendous respect for my father. He's passed away, but I mean, he, being, and that moniker blue collar means so much to me because it's not just work. It's a mentality of how you treat others and how you honor others and how you respect others and you respect, being your best and lifting others for the betterment of the whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To me,
I mean, it's really important to me because I mean, that's why, I mean, my wife and I, my wife, Beth Ann, she, we both believe in that. Right. And we both, I mean, she was a hell of an athlete. I mean, I wasn't so much. I just, I was kind of rocky without the talent. But I mean, I really mean that. And so I taught kids, just be your best. I never said be the best. And there's a huge, massive difference in my head is be your best. Don't worry about being the best. That you have no control over that. Athletically, intelligence, anything. All you have control over is you. So you go out and you give the best of you can be. And that's at everything you do. And so for me, I mean, that's a quick capsule of what blue collar means to me, discipline, commitment, effort, toughness, pride. I mean, I taught that all the days of my life. It flows out of my body like air. I mean, air coming in and out. I mean, it's how I breathe. And so I would hope, that along with being a servant leader, that those are the things that every child and every person that ever met me would say, is to lift others and have the discipline, commitment, effort, toughness, and pride to be your best for others.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the things I say to people that I mentor or at work when I'm doing events or my teams is just do one step better than you did the day before.
There you go.
You took 9,000 steps, take 9,001. Because
Right.
what you're trying to do is you're just trying to better yourself, and and it's incremental. There was a book that I read. It was called Make Your Bed, and it was like an Army general or Army admiral. And basically the gist was he started every day by making his bed. And the reason why was because, and this was even after he retired from the military, it was because you start with one success. You start with something small, making your
Right.
bed something small. Now, I will tell you, I didn't take his advice because I hate making the bed in the morning. So I did not take that advice, but I do start with one small step and you accomplish something in the morning early on so that you can build upon that. And the other thing that I always do is, an agent of mine, I work in insurance, and an agent of mine always would say, when I would talk to him, he'd say, hey, what's the best thing that happened to you today? You can't answer that question negatively. So you get a positive response. Like, what's the best thing that happened? You can't say anything negative.
Right.
So by thinking that positive and thinking positive thoughts lets you go out there and accomplish, because this world is not going to be like you, John. This world is the world and the teachers and everybody right now. They're not preaching the same thing you are. It's more about self right now that I've seen. And they've gotten away from that servant leadership, from that trying to help. And if you've been afforded some things, give something back to somebody else.
But George, what you're talking about is by saying that, you take control of the narrative. Mm-hmm. As an athlete, as a student, as a person, I believe you can discipline your mind to think in that direction if you so choose. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think that's a brilliant way to think of things. I mean, the walk of 1,000 miles is the first step, right? You can't go 1,000 miles without your first step. And that sounds silly, but it's not. I mean, your journey is your journey. So yeah, I love that idea.
But you're instilling things in people young. I mean, I started working when I was 5 years old. I've worked since I was 5. My family, you talk about blue collar, but my family, we owned a pet store. So this was before PetSmart, before Petco, before all these big boxes. And so we were just a neighborhood pet store. And, every day after school, kindergarten, my grandfather would pick me up, have lunch in the car, snack in the car. We'd drive down to the shop. And then my job was to clean out the feeder fish that were piranhas and the Oscars. I had to change all the bedding for the hamsters and mice, just little things like that. And I've been doing that since I was 5, and I've worked every day since then, because it's something that was instilled in me, a pride of something that you're doing that you can say, I did that and I accomplished it. And so, yeah, you like the small steps are the key.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll be honest, a big part of that, I mean, I feel like, you know, my wife and I have that was our focus. Our focus with our children, I mean, academically, whatever they said, we were all, hold on. Did you give your best effort? I mean, or did you go, oh, I forgot to do that? And you try to quick slam something together. Because if you try to quick slam something together, that's not your best effort. That's you making a mistake. And they had to own up to that, right? And we're very fortunate with our 3 kids. Very, very fortunate. They're wonderful human beings. And, you know, I'm grateful I get to be their pops.
It's funny that you said that, because I just had that conversation with Jordan yesterday and today. When you say, you know, when you ask the kids, did you just slap that together? The way to get through that is to make sure that you're being honest with yourself of whether or not you did or not. And if you're not being honest with yourself, you're cheating yourself.
Amen.
And that was a conversation that I had with Jordan tonight and last night is, you know, he's going through some stuff and whatever else. And I said, you know, I keep telling you what I think might be happening, and you're in so quick and instantly, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. You need to take some time and really self-reflect and think, are you being honest with yourself?
Right.
Because yeah, there are some things that are happening that are unfair, that are out of your control, but there's also some things that you're not being honest with yourself about. And until you fix those problems, these other things are not going to stop.
100%. And you know what? Teaching our kids to look in the mirror and take responsibility for their success and their failures.
Right.
And understand, and I really don't think they're failures. There's just
Learning
that was the best choice for me to be as successful as I should have been. So I'm going to learn from that. If you want to call that a failure, fantastic. The only way in my mind, and Beth and I have said this from the get-go, the only way you fail is if you're not learning.
Yeah.
Learn from everything you do. I mean, and Beth and I would push back that whether you're winning or losing, if you're not learning, you are losing. Whether you win or lose the game, if you're not picking something up to get better, when you win, you're losing that game. You're not preparing yourself to be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. You're becoming satisfied, you know, that leads to nothing good.
Well, I look at this too, and I say we're on old man strength, but it's old man wisdom as well. We've been through this, you know, and teaching our kids, we've been through it. They want to act like they know it all. So, you know, it's that old man. Yeah. Just like our kids can't beat us up, no matter how big they get. We got some one-ups on them. We can get them no matter what.
I always said, don't blow your neck, because you know what? I know how to cheat.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He's not going to win anyway.
My dad once said when we squared off in the kitchen, he said, you know, you might be bigger than me, but that lamp over there will really hurt. I'll use whatever I got.
One of the things that is different
well
in this
put,
day and age,
well put, both of you.
This day and age is the instant gratification. Things come so quickly, and you don't have time to learn. And so I equate this to my golf game. I like to walk when I golf, because when I hit that bad shot, I want to think about it as I walk to that shot.
There you go.
Yeah. Golf cart gets me there too fast. I don't got time to really think about that shot as I'm walking and kicking my ass, saying, "What the hell did you slice that? Like, how did you line up? How are your hands?" So you get time to think about that. But right now we get stuff so quick and so fast, we don't have time to think and react to it. It's like we can't be proactive. We're always reactive, and that's what people are learning today, to be reactive to something. Well, or I didn't know. I should have. So they don't even know what to say, because they're just like trying to make something up real quick.
But George, here's the thing, when you don't, I mean, a lot of kids today, they don't even take time to think. They know a lot of things, but they don't think they do, because you know what? They go to their phone.
Yeah.
They ask whatever that person is on the phone.
Hey, don't say her name, because then she'll say something to you.
Right. Well,
She's listening.
whatever
She's listening.
you know what I'm saying? You can type it in or say it or whatever, and then boom, it's, you have, I mean, my mama and dad had they had the Atlas books from A to Z. And if you wanted to know something, there was always a step stool. And my mama and dad say, get up there. And most of the time I didn't even know what letter to look under. But there was always each atlas and you'd pick out the A or the Z or the B or the M or the O or whatever, and you'd look it up, and they'd help you figure out what to look up. But yeah, it was but I'm going to kind of throw this a little bit to, this conversation to the left. I'm going to tell you something right now. One of the reasons that Beth Ann and I were so excited about Rory, completing his time up at Iowa State is just, George and Chris, what you guys are talking about. Coach Campbell and that staff, they're old school. They teach the things. I mean, I swear to God to you, our son and our daughter, because she, just by virtue of her being around the program, being a videographer, those two are much better human beings than when we dropped them off. I'm not saying Beth or I did a horrible job. We tried our best, but I'm saying what we dropped off and we thought was pretty good. We thought, we did a pretty damn good job. Well, every day they've been pushed to be their best at whatever they're doing. They've never been told either be the best or get out. They've been told, that strive. And not, for God's sakes, I'm not talking just athletics. I'm talking as a human being. And I really want you, I mean, honest to God, and that's just me as a dad / coach. And Beth Ann is as a mama / coach, because she coached as well. I mean, we couldn't be happier. And it's Campbell, but it's everybody on that staff.
It's all them Ohio boys, and I say,
Here we go.
I say that because it's the
you.
Ohio boys, but no, but in all honesty, the reason why I say that is because Ohioans are the most mixed up people in the country, but they learn because we are on Eastern time zone, but we're considered Midwest. There's only one state between us and the coast, Pennsylvania, and then Maryland. But then we're an hour and a half, like Cleveland is 3 hours from Kentucky. So we're actually like south. I lived in a place called Grove City, but they called it Grove Tucky because it used to be all corn. I lived in Grove Tucky when I was back in Ohio. But we had to figure it out because we were our own group. And so you just had to learn things a little bit differently. And so when Campbell brought that out from Toledo to come out to Iowa, the same thing I did when I was there. I tried to indoctrinate people to the Ohio way of life. But it's just that my grandfather was the pet store. My stepdad, my grandfather worked at Chrysler. My uncle works at Ford. My other uncle worked at Chevy. So they were up in Detroit.
I got you.
All my family's Detroit and Cleveland. That's where I'm from. And it's just that hard-nosed, head down type of person. And that's what Matt brought up. But it is a sensitive type of person too, because you understand because everybody's different.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it. I mean, I would push back that there's a little place called East Des Moines that sounds just like where you're from.
Well, we're gonna take a break here and pause for an ad from a word from Revelton Distilling Company, our sponsor, and then I want to circle back, John, and let's talk about Coach Campbell. And I love the story that you've told about Rory's recruitment as a preferred walk-on. So let's take this break, and then I would love to kind of dig into that if you're all right with that.
Thank you.
At Revelton Distilling Company, everyone has become a part of the Revelton family. From the Taylors and their daughter who helped perfect their award-winning gins, to the team who installed Lucy, our 33-foot tall custom-made still, right down to the local farms that provide our coveted corn, and even the cows on those farms who consume our mash byproduct. Want to see the farm to flask come to life? Now you can tour Lucy and find out where we take Iowa's harvest and transform it into our finest spirits. Choose between a 45-minute tour or find out even more by scheduling a VIP behind-the-scenes tour to get the taste of the full Revelton experience. You can visit them at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or find all of Revelton's award-winning spirits at any local grocery or spirits retailer.
All right, and we're back. Again, make sure you go check out the tasting room and all of the great stuff that Rob and Christy have down at Revelton Distilling Company. They'll hook you up. During the break, George John was wanting to know your backstory. So for some of you people that have missed George's episode on Old Man Strength, and for you nutcases that aren't listening to Sigh of the Storm, A, why aren't you?
Exactly.
B, why don't you tell John a little bit about your background?
Yeah, John. So I am originally, like I said, from Cleveland, Ohio, right down the street from where Jack was raised. Well, where he lived to get a better life, because he was born a slave down in Lexington, Tennessee. And I was out in Cleveland, living there, kept getting in trouble, moved further and further out in the suburbs, and ended up meeting some good people out in the suburbs. But the only school I was going to go to was Michigan. I know some people don't like Michigan, but that was the only school I was going to because my high school girlfriend was going and doing musical theater, and I thought I was in love. Another story, my wife doesn't listen to podcasts, so it's okay. So in 1988 is when they unveiled the statue. So Doug Jeske and then three of my family members, my grandfather, George Trice, my uncle, Nelson Trice, and then my cousin, Chester Trice Jr. He was the son of my uncle Chester, but he couldn't make it. I was 8 years old, had chicken pox, so I couldn't get on a plane. So my mom and I, as Trices, did not go. But that was the first I had heard about Jack Trice and anything, because it wasn't really talked about in our family. Future forward, I'm 17 years old, senior year in high school, and my football coach, every morning I would go into his office, and at the beginning of a season is when they named the stadium Jack Trice Stadium Cyclone Field. That's when they reversed it in '97.
Yep.
And so he gave me the article. I took it home to my mom, and I told her about it, and she remembered it. She pulled out the Jet magazine from 1988 that they were all featured in. And I called the school. They called me back, broke it down, that you're the first cousin twice removed. It's your grandfather and the mom, and then me. So still the first cousin. And they said, when do you want to come out? I said, oh, I'll come out whenever. My mom was like, no, you're not. You're not going out without me. I'm still a kid. And so we got flown out and went out there in February, went to a basketball game. And that is where I fell in love with Iowa. The reception that I got at that game, I was there for a few days. I stayed with the football players my first day. My mom stayed at Memorial Union, got a tour of campus, went to the game, and everybody was giving me high five, thumbs up, clapping as I'm walking out this game. And I'm like, oh, that's love. It feels good for something out of tragedy to have this warm reception. And so got offered a full scholarship to go out there, and told the girlfriend that I was not going to Michigan anymore. And that's how I ended up at Iowa State. Took some time off, went out to California, got accepted to culinary school out in Sacramento and Santa Monica. So the Santa Monica School of Arts, Culinary Arts, and I was going to go there, but ended up coming back to Iowa and ended up living there for another 7 years. And that's where I became an adult there, because I left home when I was 18. And so that was one of the things that, I will always have love for Iowa, because it is where I was raised into a man.
I get you.
And so future forward, all the Jack Trice stuff they had been doing. I had been featured in papers. I had been all this stuff. And there was not a lot of stuff about Jack Trice that was national. During certain times of the year, it might come out a little bit. During basketball season, because basketball season during Black History Month, it would come out a little bit. But when the social injustice with George Floyd actually hit in 2020 is when the light came, and ESPN was at my house. CBS was at my house. I was on the road to the finals. I was on ESPN. And so that's when people started comparing Jack's story and of his death to George Floyd. And that's when I said, don't put those two together. And that's what made me want to do something different. And so that's when
Nice job by you, by the way.
yeah. And that's when I started the just a scholarship. I was like, okay, let me just do a scholarship, raise some money for some kids. First to give back to East Tech because that's in Cleveland and that's where Jack went to school. That's where I wanted to hit home first. But then I thought about giving it to anybody that wanted to further themselves, whether it's trade school, whether it's
There you go.
or a 2-year school, because it's about furthering your education. And we need the electricians, we need the contractors, because those
Amen,
are
brother.
jobs and people don't want to do those jobs, but those make more money than some of these sweet jobs. And so I wanted to be able to give back. Like right now I'm looking at 3
Learn while you learn.
yeah, exactly. I got 3 laptops here. So I have a technology fund grant that you can apply for, and you can get a laptop, or we can help with internet assistance for some high school kids. And then we have the scholarship that we're going to be giving out with the Trice Legacy Foundation. And so tricelegacy.org is our website where you can find out more information. We're going to be doing our 3rd annual golf event in Ames at Coldwater on Friday, February 16th. So, raising money there, get into the community. And that's what I'm trying to do, get more indoctrinated into the community. That is Father's Day weekend. It's the Friday before Father's Day up in Ames. So that is out on the website as well. But we're trying to get sponsors, donors, volunteers, golfers. But it was fun. We had it in Adele the past 2 years, and I guaranteed them 2 years, and then wanted to move it closer to Central. And with all the 100th commemorative things going on for Jack, this is part of what's on the jacktrice100.com. You can find out all the things through Iowa State, what they're doing. And so that's just one of the things that I'm doing.
Can I throw something in real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, George, I want to be real serious for just a moment. Because, my son had, our son had the great blessing of being able to go through as a walk-on football player and, earned a scholarship, what have you. And then, we're grateful and blessed enough that he got to be asked to be a student coach and, last year. And then, who knows what's going to happen going forward. But I just want you to know, I don't know, I guess it's not firsthand because I wasn't in the room, but, I guess from our son to Beth and I, they talk about living up to that legacy. It's not, and I mean this in the most sincere, beautiful way. In no way am I trying to step on toes or be, disrespectful, but it's not just, I don't mean it the way this is going to sound. It's not just Jack Trice Field. It's more than that. There's, I think you said the word legacy.
Yes.
Right. And,
Yes.
and to honor that word legacy, if you're going to honor a legacy, that means you have to live up to that. And I'm telling you, as a dad's, mama and dad as coaches and moms and dads, I mean, we truly, I want you to hear this. It's being taught, coached, and expected. And it's really a powerful force in the athletic department of the football for sure.
Oh yeah, you're 100%, and I don't take anything away. I know how they come out to it. I know the I will. I know all the things that Coach Campbell is doing and being in that building. The only issue I have is that sometimes it stops there. It stops after that. Again, 2020 is when Iowa State was getting a lot of recognition for Jack Trice's name. And that's why I'm trying to get the story out and get the legacy out, is because what Jack wanted to do before his life was cut short. So he went there. The only reason he ended up at Iowa State got lucky. Not a negative thing, but Iowa State got lucky because his high school coach was the coach he got recruited to be the coach of Ames College. And he brought 6 of his players with him. And Jack was one of those players. So 6 of those boys were from Ohio.
Gotcha.
And so that's how he ended up at Iowa State. He was studying animal husbandry because he wanted to go back down south and teach ex-slaves how to sharecrop to make a living.
Yeah.
To take his education down there. And that's why the three pillars that the foundation is on is family, education, and community. Because those are the three things that if you look deeply into his letter, those are the three things he's talking about when you think about what he's saying.
Yes,
And
sir.
so when you talk about other kids continuing their legacy, whether they're the first one to go to college, whether they're the second one, whether they're going to mass, whatever they're doing, if they're trying to do better and trying to do something after with whatever they learn, that's what we're trying to do. And that's why the foundation is all, when we give our scholarship, they also get leadership and mentorship attached to that, because we want them to finish. Everybody can say I gave somebody some money, and then where are they now? Oh, I don't know. I gave money 4 years ago. I don't know if they graduated or not. We're with them to the end. They get our scholarship. We're building that connection with the school if they allow us to. Like, hey, we want you to succeed. We want to be a part of this. And that's why I've gotten a buy-in of a lot of players that have played at Jack Trice, because they felt that through all the coaches. Like, I still talk to Coach Mack. You know, he's on my show someday. Like, I talk to him all the time. But the kids that came up through that, they still know that story. The kids that are coming up through Campbell, they're knowing this stuff. And I want to get it nationwide and get it out there broad.
Fair enough. I just want to make sure that you understand it's not that at Iowa State currently right now and in the previous 5 years, it wasn't enough to read the book. It wasn't enough to read the story. It wasn't enough to be told the story. You had to live the story. You had to live the story. Does that make sense? So I really want you to, I hope that makes you feel good, because it's not about just feeling good, but I mean, as a, like I said, as Beth and I being teachers and coaches, for them to take that moment in time, you know, with Jack's story and make it be relevant today and make kids live up to that. Because again, I think Jack would have 1,000% agreed with be your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel, you know, and I feel like they are really, it's, I don't know exactly what the word organic means, but I mean, it's, you know, to me, it means like it seeps up from the bottom up and it's in your core. And that's the way it is. I mean, like that, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. What matters is who you are as a person. And I, again, I hope I'm not stepping on toes, but I'm just trying to explain to you that it is definitely valued, taught, and expected at Iowa State in football.
Yeah, and Coach Campbell, you still haven't had me come talk to the team. I'm throwing that out there.
There you go.
Because I was there when Reggie Hayward got inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
And I had other meetings for what I was doing, and Reggie was talking to the team. Like, man, I wish I could have came with you, but I had meetings with some staff at Iowa State while he was there talking to the team. But again, they're doing a good thing, and I'm glad they're teaching it. And I'm glad that he's getting recognized the way he is, and it's been gaining and gaining. And you know,
it's not lip service.
It's not.
That's what I'm trying to say, Chris. It's not lip service. It's living up to the legacy.
Yeah. And it's like when you talk about organic. Chris and I really didn't know each other, and like we became good friends, and it's been organic. Like it just happened, and it's been built upon. So if it's something that you believe in, if you have a commonality and you believe in what you're being
there, you go,
or you believe in that person, or you believe in that statement, that's the key. And so I believe what Chris was trying to do, and so I'm on board with you. And Chris, when I came to the tailgate, it was cold. I came out to see Chris real quick. Like, hey, I'm coming.
You're from Ohio, for God's sakes, man.
I've been living in Arizona too long, and I'm West Coast now. West Coast.
You're getting soft in Phoenix.
5 degrees here today. It was, man. I woke up. It was frost on my car. 32 degrees this morning. But yeah, no. So John, you're 100% right on how they're preaching it, how that staff is preaching it, and everybody feels it when they're in that stadium. When they're in that locker room, when they're in the building, they feel it and they see it. And I got, you know, and it was really great when they got these.
Oh, there you go.
So, you know, to give them for the city to give recognition to Jack, to do the proclamation by the city of Ames, commemorating this and everything like that, it's getting it's starting to gain the traction and recognition that he deserves. Not just about the statue, it's about the words and carrying on those words and that legacy.
And that's honestly, George, that's what I want you to know. The statue's nice, don't get me wrong. but more importantly, are his values being perpetuated in an honest, sincere way, and the expectation of living up to them.
I'm not going to pull my shirt up, but because I don't want people seeing my nipple on the YouTube, because that might be censored. But I actually have the 5 bars tattooed on my chest.
There you go.
With the word legacy, and I use it legacy, but the E is a 3 and a 7 at the end for his number. So legacy with a 37.
Oh, nice.
And I have
Nice.
that on
Well,
my
now I'm
tattoo.
jealous. I want that tattoo.
I created it and I was like, yeah, do this tattoo for me. And it's because I do believe in the 5 bars. The 5 bars represents 1923 or the 1920s era, but Iowa State's using it for Jack Trice, and it's synonymous with Jack Trice. And it's been good. It's been gaining traction. And I'm loving it.
George, we need to have a shirt made like your tattoo.
I'm doing some stuff. I come out with
Can you work with Cyclone Fanatics with your stuff?
I have not worked with them as of yet. I stopped by a lot and try to talk to some people to get some contacts. I don't have the right contacts yet, but I'm trying to.
I tell you what, that's a hell of an idea. Those will fly off the shelf.
George, I'll get you a contact with Mike Martz. He's the apparel guy at Cyclone Fanatic, and he actually just hooked me up with a donation for this charity auction that I got going on. So
I got a charity auction too that's going on.
I know. We're gonna talk about it.
I know. No, that'd be cool to get that, because I was when I was back for the dedication and everything, I was in the ISU bookstore. I had my family in there and I was getting them some stuff because my kids don't get back as often. They're 4 and 9, and people were looking for the Jack Trice stuff. They're like, "Where's the Jack Trice stuff?" It's gaining traction. They are just for that. They were coming in town. They were there just for that, and it's gaining traction. And like I said, I'm jealous of Chris because I don't have that hat. And I was
Shields.
Googling it.
It's at Shields.
Oh, okay, I was
AC
looking.
got it for me at Shields.
All right, she should have got 2.
I know.
I'll
hook
have
you
a
up.
conversation.
I
with
got
her.
I got a whole list of shit I got to send you. Apparently, John. Before the break, we were talking about Coach Campbell, and you were talking about his embodiment of the spirit and how much better Rory as a man and Mary Kate as a person is after being around that program. But there's a story that you told me about Rory's commitment and after speaking to Coach Campbell, what his thoughts were and how ready he was to sign on the dotted line. Why don't you tell that story? Because I think it shows how much that, I mean, Coach obviously wants those 5-star kids and whatever else, but he knows just how important guys like Rory are as well to the success of a successful football program.
Well, I'll say this, Rory was up at a camp, had a situation happen, and had no idea that Coach Campbell was even watching. And stuff happened, and a kid broke Rory's nose, and he stayed out on the field, wouldn't go off. After everything was done, Rory didn't even know Coach Campbell was there, and guy ran up and said, "Hey," and pulled Rory to the side, and I was like, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I don't know, Dad," and went over, and Coach Campbell was sitting in a Gator at the time, and said, had some words with Rory about, "You're all right." Yeah. He said, "Yeah, impressed with your kid, da, da, da." And one thing leads to another. And then, they start having a little bit of conversation, and Rory was grateful for the conversation, but didn't, nothing materialized. There was no, scholarship or whatever that came out of it, but they were watching him, and come time, and a couple of the other guys, Orion and Jake, got scholarships and what have you, and we said, well, why, what does Rory need to do? And he said, if we had one more scholarship and we could take 3, it'd have been him, but we don't. And, Rory, why are we not winning? And he, said, well, offensive and defensive lines. And at the time, and, we've since got way better, but, and then, one thing leads to another. And on signing day, coach comes down and out of nowhere pulls Rory out of class, and Rory comes down, and they just said it was an Iowa State coach, and it was Coach Campbell. And he said, I really hope, you'll come to Iowa State. And, that meant Rory knew that, on signing day, that meant a lot. And so, we'd been up there, and we went up, and coach ended up saying, his spiel to everybody. And then Rory just decided that's where he wanted to be. And Coach Campbell was really the reason, just his sincerity and his honesty. And Coach Campbell took us in his office and said, not going to be a scholarly kid right now, but if he's who I think he is in the future, he could earn one. And that's all it took for him. That's all it took. He didn't get to go to that. I mean, he worked his ever living ass off that summer after his senior year from out of East High School, and did not get invited for fall camp. And, did that hurt him? I mean, emotionally, absolutely. It pissed him off like no tomorrow, because he looked in the mirror and thought to himself, I didn't do something, and I have to figure this out. Nobody, and so, while they were at fall camp, he I didn't know that he could take it to another level, because he already worked really, really hard, but he took it to another level. Went into fall camp, after fall camp, then when everybody was invited back, not just the people invited to fall camp, but when actual season practice started, then he starts going. And, one thing leads to another, and he, he ran out, something happened to a safety on the field, and he ran out and started playing safety. He never played safety a day in his life. And the kids kept yelling at him to come off the field, that he was supposed to come in. Rory pretended not to hear and just played the entire rest of the practice. And the safeties coach brought everybody in. He goes, okay, guys. He goes, wait a minute, who the hell are you? He goes, I'm Rory Walling. And he said, you're not even a safety. What are you doing? And he said, playing football. And from that day forward, I mean, because he just talked to everybody about what the signals were and what to do, and he just learned on the fly, but he wouldn't come off the field. And one thing led to another, and he got to be, scout team player of the week. I'm out on the football field coaching, I just for safety, right? Before the season started, I said, Coach, Rory's at Iowa State now. He's now, obviously he's not at East High School anymore. If somehow he travels, I'm going. He goes, oh, I understand. And Beth and I had no doubt that he was not going. I mean, he didn't get invited to fall camp, right? I mean, right. George, Chris, you understand that. Yeah. So I get a phone call, and he said, hey, Pops, I'm going to the game. He had a 1970 Ford F-250 that barely could make it to Ames. And I thought he was talking about trying to go down to the Texas Tech game, driving that. I said, you are not driving your damn truck down to TCU, young man. He said, Pops, no, Pops. I'm going to go with some friends. I said, hold on, God damn it. What friends? Who's driving? Who's, goes, no, I'm with the team. I said, what teammates? Because I'm not thinking he's with, he goes, no, Pops, listen, stop. I'm going with the team like I'm flying. I said, oh my gosh, hung up on him, called Beth Ann. Beth Ann immediately figured out a route for me to get down there that's longer than this podcast is long. and she looked on a map, and she thought that Lubbock was a lot closer than Dallas on a map than it really was, is all I'm going to say. And And then I called him back and I said, wait, are you really going? He goes, yeah. He goes, why'd you hang up? I said, I was excited. I called your mama and, figured out a way to get there. And one thing led to another, and he got to do that and got to go travel a few more times and ended up being Scout Team Player of the Year that year and that. Now, he didn't play, but just seeing him, I'll be honest, George, watching him run out, my throat's aching right now. Watching him run out at Texas Tech, that'll be one of the things I think about, the day I die. It was just so surreal to watch this young man, work his dream and work so hard and work, and be given the gift of the opportunity. And, and now, being given the gift of the opportunity to coach. So one thing leads to another, the next season he's playing, he gets to play. And then, like I told you, down in San Antonio, we didn't even know he got on the field. And then he starts playing, right? And one thing leads to another, and a few years later, he's called up before the next bowl. A couple of years later, he's called up before the bowl game, and he's honored with a scholarship. Now, it happened to be a snowstorm that night, so he wanted to come down and tell us himself, but he had to call because his truck wouldn't make it. So
I was gonna say he still had that shitty truck, so he couldn't make that trek. My favorite Roy Walling story is not a play. It's not seeing him, make a big tackle, any of that. It's every home game that I was at, watching him with the flag, being the first one leading the team out, and just saying to myself, that's John's kid. Like, I had a connection to him, but for him to take pride in that, and it's just like that Holly kid on the men's basketball team, now that they're talking about the embodiment of the spirit and the support of teammates and things like that. It's guys like him and guys like Rory that keep teams together and make a team. And to watch him run out there with the flag every time, I would just swell with pride.
Well,
So
I'll tell you what,
if anything tells you what kind of a father you are, you should be very well commended for that.
if I could take credit for that, I would, but I tell you what, my
Well,
man,
we'll let Beth take credit for it then.
there we go. And she'll take it. She'll take it.
Oh yeah, right. I know.
But Chris, if I could just say one thing, I just want to make sure everybody understand, he loved running out and representing Iowa State and running out with Coach Campbell all those times. And every time in Jack Trice, George, he would point up to F1. And I hope nobody thought he was being big-headed or anything. It was all in honor of his grandpa, because his grandpa, while he was growing up, my dad, when I was growing up, we went to the old Clyde Williams. That's how old this cat is. I was at the other stadium. And then we came to this new stadium, Jack Trice. So Rory, my dad always had season tickets. Rory, my dad would take Rory and they would always sit. Well, Dad started not doing well and ended up being at the front. He lost both his legs to diabetes and one at a time. But but it was really important to him to have, to take Rory to the football games. And then, my dad's last fall, he made it to the 8 football games around Des Moines with both legs cut off. He didn't make it up to Sioux City. But that was one of the things that he just, my father, Rory's grandfather, willed himself to do those things and to go to Mary Kate swim meets, and he just was a unbelievably tough man. And then so when Rory ran out, he would I just don't want anybody to think that he would like pointing at what it would. The point was, he was pointing up to not just the sky, but to where Grandpa would have been sitting. And because he played every single game in honor of him.
Oh yeah, that's
Good stuff.
That's touching right there.
We're going to take another quick break and get a word from Wintrust Mortgage, Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Check out Kyle's series on our Three Beards Media YouTube page to follow along, to learn more about first-time home buyer. He's got some great new programs for first-time home buyers. We're going to take a quick listen to that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to ask John the Wintrust Mortgage question of the podcast. So we'll be back here in a second.
Did you know that Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage is the perfect person to contact if you're a first-time home buyer? Kyle has some amazing programs available right now. So go watch his series with Caitlin and Walker when they take their first steps to home buying on our Three Beards Media YouTube channel.
Not bad price range right there.
No, and I really want to get out of this apartment.
Yeah.
Tired of renting, want something to own,
Yeah.
make our own.
Put family equity.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start though.
Me either. I mean, how would we go about looking into buying a house? I mean, honestly, I don't know too much about it.
Yeah. Well, I know my dad has this sponsor for his podcast, Kyle Lehman with Wintrust Mortgage.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned something to my dad about wanting to talk to first-time buyers. So maybe we should FaceTime my dad and get some more information.
Sounds like a great idea.
All right, and we're back. Thanks again to Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Kyle saved me a crap ton of money on my refinance a couple years ago, and he can save you guys a crap ton of money now if you're a first-time homeowner and first-time home buyer. So check out Kyle Lehman. John, Kyle sponsors a question. So, and I know that you're an emotional guy, so this one will probably get you. So John Walling, 2022, John Walling, with all his knowledge and what he knows, goes back and can give one piece of advice to John Walling 15 years ago. What's that piece of advice that he's going to give 2008 John Walling?
You were 33, 43.
There you go. Beth says you were 43.
Yeah, I hear Beth back there.
I know she's over there. She's over there trying to tell me how old I am. She's
Math.
just
I
as
was told there'd
excited
be
as
no
I
math.
am.
I was told there'd be no math on this podcast.
I was going to say I'd be a complete failure. Honestly, I wish I would have realized at a far younger age the difference between being the best and being your best. And I'm just glad that at some point between when I was growing up and the blessing of getting to be with Beth Ann and having children, that realization came on. Because I really feel like, I mean, George, I think you talked about this earlier. I mean, about like what you control, right? Didn't you say something like that, George?
I always say something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was.
But
yeah.
right, I mean, you
Control
were
what
talking about
yeah.
something, control what you control or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when I was growing up, I always thought you had to be the best. But then if you're not, there's nothing else, right? I mean, because everybody else that's not the best aren't the best. So only one person got something out of that versus being your best. And George, you talked about, every day you get up and you do something immediately to start the day out to make it be your best, right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, I know you don't think I listen, George, but I listen to you very, very intently. I'm serious. And you too, Christopher. I mean, honestly, I learn from everybody and I never stop learning because Lord knows I got a lot to learn, but I really mean that. and I hope and I pray that not just my 3, but every child I got to, every young person I got to come in contact with, teaching or coaching, that they took that's something that they could take, is that I never, and they should never expect themselves to try to be the best. That's out of your control. If you happen to be the best, fantastic. But you know what? Every single day, if you strive to be, and I know it might sound trite or small, but I swear to God, I believe in it, because again, in my mind just works in circles. It all goes back to being a blue collar guy. And, if I'm on the assembly line or if I'm at home or whatever I'm doing, I just want to be my best. And, I fall flat on my face a lot. But I mean, whether I'm coaching, I'm a fan, I'm a dad, I'm a friend to George and you, Chris, or whatever, I just want to be my best. And I'm not saying I am going to be the best, but just simply striving to be my best. And part of being my best would be, and I really mean this, because this is kind of like the mantra of my life, is that, to serve others, be a servant leader, and to have discipline, commitment, effort, toughness, and pride at PIESS, pies.
Boom. There you go.
So I don't know if that's a good answer or just an answer or a bad answer, but
I think it's
honestly,
a great
God,
answer.
that's
It's an honest answer.
And honestly, I swear to God to you, I believe that, this town I call East Des Moines, that happened to grow up around Des Moines, I really believe that's who we are.
Hey, it resonates with me, and I'll tell you why. We had a little bit of a conversation before we hopped on here about how I was doing with the job search and whatever else. And I'm not gonna lie, and I'm 100% honest here. My self-esteem and my ego has taken a hit here the last 2 weeks. But I remember the other day I woke up and it helps having such a supportive wife who, told me, whatever you decide and whatever you want to do, I'll support you and we'll make it work. But I woke up yesterday morning, and at one point I was like, you know what? I'm tired of feeling sorry for myself. I know that I can do great things. And I know that there's other people. I know that there's jobs out there that I can accomplish and I can do it. And at some point, somebody's going to reap the benefits of that. And the ones that pass on it are going to have to live with that.
Right.
And it's kind of in the spirit of what you said. I'm not going to be the best podcaster, the best marketer, the best IT person, but I'll be the best that I can be. And that's pretty damn good.
Christopher, can I say something though, Christopher? I will say this. You don't know that you're not the best. It's just that's the ultimate goal is for you to be your best, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? If you happen to be the best, God willing, fantastic. But I mean, that's not the objective.
Well, the objective is to be the best George, Chris, or John that you can be.
Right. There you go.
And it's like, it's not about, they always talk about keeping up with the Joneses. And people have that in their mind. You want to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
So there are a lot of families with the last name Jones. Which Joneses are you trying to keep up with? But you really, if everybody's last name was Jones, be the best Jones you can be. Because I'm not gonna be Tom Brady. If I'm a quarterback in the league, a quarterback in high school, I'm not gonna be Tom Brady. I'm gonna always be George Trice. So it's always about being the best George Trice I can be. So being the best you is exactly what you're saying. It's like you can strive to be great like Tom Brady, but you're going to be great in your own right. You're going to be great in the way that you can be great, because you're not ever going to, your physical build, your mental, everything is not going to be 100% exact to everybody, because we're all so different. But you can be on that same level just as you. You don't have to be somebody else. Be you.
Yeah. And George, that's exactly it. Strive for your greatness. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I don't mean like settle. I'm not in no way, shape, or form am I saying like, be happy with being mediocre. I mean, here's another thing I believe in. I don't think mediocre people like to be around high achievers. The people that are striving to be a high achiever, and people that are striving to be high achievers and be their great don't want to be around mediocre people. I mean, people that are okay with just being average and understand what I'm saying. I mean, there's a difference between wherever you land with your greatness, right? That's God given. But I mean, you should squeeze everything. Like Rory squeezed everything he had out of his 6 foot, 200-pound body. I mean, he was going against 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 240, 250, 260. And he didn't care. He was striving for his greatness because he had to him the weight of his teammates and Iowa State on his shoulders, and he wasn't going to let him down. So he was going to try to be his best all the time, whether he was at class, working out, with the football team, watching film, whatever.
This is exactly what I said at the end of last year when Coach Campbell was asked the question, was he disappointed because his goal was to make the Big 12 championship? And his answer was that was never my goal. My goal was to have the best team and the best versions of ourselves. And the national media lost their fucking mind.
No shit.
And Brady Quinn lost his fucking mind.
Dumbasses, because that's how small their mind is.
Right. And what I was screaming to the tip tops is this is bigger than a Big 12 championship to him. That will happen. If you become the best versions of yourselves, whatever those are, then those things will happen. Those are secondary consequences of becoming the best versions of yourself. So for people to hammer him or whatever, and what I really loved about it is he kind of gave a fuck you and didn't even address it after that, because he wasn't talking to them anyways. He was talking to those boys in the locker room.
Chris, those are some of the wisest words I've heard in a long time. I really mean that. I mean,
I'm gonna mark the tape.
I'm tired.
See, this is when I wish Tim was on the podcast, when everybody praises me and all he does is make fun of me.
Well, there's nothing to make fun of, my man, because you know what? You just kind of touched on a nerve with all of Cyclone Nation.
Oh yeah.
Because you know what? Don't ever question our coach or our coaches. Don't ever question their strive to be their best and to bring the best for all of us and our players and all that. I mean, how dare anybody question that we're okay with mediocre? We're not. But we do accept being whatever our best is. Sometimes your best doesn't mean you're the best.
Right.
I mean, everybody wants to be the best. But every single football season, gentlemen, every single football season, there's only one football team that's ever truly happy. And that's the one that was in the championship game. That what I mean. I mean that true. Yep. That's kind of a lie too about truly happy. But I mean, everybody's goal is to try to get the championship trophy, and only one team in the nation gets to do that. Right. Now, everybody else, they have to be able to understand: did you or did you not? How close were you to getting to your being your best? You may, and if your best may not be the talent and all that combined, may not be that you're a national champion. Doesn't mean that you're a loser.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. George, you got anything else? We have one more segment that's super quick, but if you have anything else, I want to give you a chance to.
No, I don't. I don't want, man. I'm not stepping on John's thunder.
Right.
I'm not following that.
Well, this is even better. So we all know who Steph Copley is. Steph Copley
she's awesome.
Is an amazing young lady who came on the pod a couple months ago. And gave an impassioned speech about some stuff. And at one point, she told Tim and I to shut the STFU, to shut the F up so she could talk. So we thought, boy, that should be a segment. And we decided to sponsor it. So what we'd like is, instead of them paying for it, we're asking for you to go Google the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa, click that donate button and donate in the name of Steph Copley, anything that you'd like, and that will help them. And in doing so, I'm going to pause for a second here, John, and then George and I are going to shut the fuck up, and you get to say whatever you want to say.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
And
Like
now
right
is
now?
the time. Now is the
All
time.
right. Well, one thing I want to say is how grateful and blessed I am that you asked me to be on this. And, that I got to be with you here, George. That was quite a surprise as well. And that, I know you could have asked 1,000 other people, and I'm blessed and honored that you asked me to be here. And, I very much enjoyed being able to share a little bit about my family and our journey and our lives. And I hope that, somehow, some way, somebody out there understands that it's okay to be a blue collar, hardworking guy that believes in serving others and discipline, commitment, effort, toughness, and pride, and lifting others. And you two obviously are tremendous at that. And I love you, and I appreciate you, and God bless you.
It's the nicest shut the fuck up moment we've had on this podcast.
I appreciate it too. Just listening. And one of the things, like you said, it's about taking nuggets away from people. You may not hear or understand everything that somebody says at a time, but there are these little nuggets that you pick up that make you be a better person, that make you think of that. It's like kind of that aha moment, like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So I appreciate you. I picked up some things from you. That toughness and that pride. It is key to being the best that you can be, the best John that you can be, the best George, or the best Chris that you can be. So I appreciate you, sir.
God bless you.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, we once again want to thank everybody for tuning in to Old Man Strength. Be sure to go check out all of our pods on the Three Beards Media Network. Of course, Sigh of the Storm that stars George along with Marcus Pfizer and Brent Gervais with occasional guests. And then we have Amy and Holly and Jess on the Hot Mess Happy Hour with the Wing Chicks. They're Hawkeye fans and they're good people. We let them on the podcast.
When can I get on there to talk some crap?
Oh yeah, they'll bring you on. They'll bring you on. We're Tim and I were just talking tonight about doing some cross promotional podcasts, and so that actually sounds like a great idea. And then of course we have Bitter Units, fill in the blank with Anya, and then two new ones. I do a little daily podcast in the morning where I get my thoughts out 10-15 minutes, and then false starts. We're bringing mental health back into playbook.
That's right.
Me and Bill Blank are talking men's mental health and bringing that into the spotlight. And the beauty of that show is it's live streamed. We have a new live stream that goes every other Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. You check us out on the YouTube channel, Three Beards Media Facebook, and we love to have people interact with us on there and ask questions. So check out all those and make sure you hit our sponsors up. And with that, we will see you all next time.
Peace.